coming up. I now welcome Sanne van der Straten and Henrik Lundlof Christensen. And I will give a note to Pascal because now Sanne, by the way, got passionate about sustainable mobility during a study period in Berlin, which I welcome very much here to give some local references. And Henrik has previously worked for the Danish Ministry of Transportation and the city government of Buenos Aires, but is now here today for the municipality of Copenhagen. So you are both here to represent the Civitas Handshake project, where there has also been a European mentoring experience. So coming from the Flemish to the European mentoring, with a focus on cycling, if I understood correctly. And Copenhagen is one of the 3 cycling mentor cities that guided the aspiring future cycling capitals. So what outcome is achievable with mentoring system on a European level?
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the great introduction, Katma. Yeah, for this session today, we will explore one main question, which is, can mentor and mentee relationships drive cycling policy change? And to tackle this topic, or to answer this question, we have to dive into the world of Handshake. But before we do that, we have some questions for you. So
yeah, to get you guys involved, because this idea of mentoring can be really abstract. So just a show of hands, anybody here has been a part of a mentoring project before? Yeah, we have some trying hands, okay. And any of those hands mentoring related to cycling, by any chance? No? Okay. So I see a lot of people really in the dark about mentoring, but then maybe if we take a very concrete example, I'm sure everybody knows how to ride a bicycle. And at the left you have myself at the age of 4 learning to ride a bike, and to the right, that's when I was a little bit older, teaching other kids how to ride a bike, and that's basically a mentoring process, to learn how to ride a bike. Today, when something is easy, we say it's just like riding a bicycle, but that's kind of overlooking the fact that at some point you had to learn it. And you needed somebody to encourage you, to show it to you, to push you, to give you critique. But more than anything, you had to do it. Like, your parents can't ride that bicycle for you when you're 4 years old. You need to do it yourself. You need to fall and have that experience and get some feedback and get right back up. And at one point it seems natural. And that's a very good metaphor for what we're doing with Handshake. Because in some cities like Copenhagen, we've been doing cycling planning for decades, and it seems so natural for us. Every time we do a big city renovation or a big project, we think cycling as a part of it. But for other cities, it's completely new. So that's what we're trying to do with this mentoring project in Handshake, to show some cities how to make this natural.
Yeah. So this is Handshake in one glance. So Handshake is an Horizon 2020 funded project under the Civitas initiative. It started in September 2018, and it will take until next year, August 2022. And it aims to facilitate this process, or this transition, to 2 wheels. So we have a variety of, as you all know, a lot of cities are facing alarming levels of congestion, air pollutions, and our roads remain dangerous for vulnerable roads users. And we really believe that cycling is a very powerful way of addressing these challenges and really aiming towards a better city and a better climate. So we use a variety of processes to really to facilitate this mentoring. And so we go from immersive events to assessment and evaluation, of course, but also transition management, and a lot of methods that we use. But as an overarching method, we established this mentoring process of 3 main cycling capitals, guiding 10 follower cities. And so these are all the 13 cities that are delivering change within the project. As you see, we involve many coastal cities as well as inland cities throughout whole Europe, with a lot of different cycling cultures. And then we have these 3 ambassador or cycling capitals that guide the 10 other cities. One of them is, of course, Copenhagen, who we have here today, but also Amsterdam and Munich. And then below you see all the partners, technical partners involved to really foster this process. And then to really make it tangible of what we are doing within the Handshake, you see that we are deploying over 60 cycling solutions, and they all fit within one of these 4 categories that you see here. And I will give you some really tangible examples of what these solutions are, of what they are wanting to deploy. And the first example within the first category is a very great one thing to mention here, is one of Dublin that is wanting to build a primary cycling route throughout the whole city center over the next number of years. But they have difficulties in a lack of road space, but also some resistance from the public, they lack some support from the public to make these necessary changes. They really can be helped by Amsterdam, because Amsterdam has a great cycling culture already. So they are looking at Amsterdam to really guide them in this building this network. And they're also now in the phase of adopting this 30 km/h approach that we are discussing in the next presentations, I think. So it's a great example of tangible solutions that they are looking for. Then second one, I will not mention too much because that will guide us too far. But the second one that I really want to mention is Helsinki. It's also in the infrastructure way, and it also has a bicycle network plan with a lot of bicycle highways as well. And they really want to achieve this high quality and some great standards within their infrastructure. And therefore, Copenhagen is really their match. They are looking at them to see how did they build their infrastructure, these personal but also professional channels to talk to each other, and not only about their goals within Handshake, but also about development as a mobility professional or expert within their city. And so this is the framework that we came up with. We had all these benefits in mind when we are thinking about mentoring, like fast-track learning, gaining group perspectives, getting constructive feedback, improving confidence, and these benefits really guided the framework in a certain direction. So first we came up with state of affairs questionnaires that the cities had to fill in to really get a grasp on their level of cycling expertise, and also the solutions that they are wanting to deploy. And this was really the reference to match them to one of the different mentors. Then we had some roles and some responsibilities set up. For example, that a mentee sets the agenda, a mentor has to listen actively, and so on. And we briefed this elaborately throughout the beginning of the project. And then they also came up with these mentoring agreements to really set on paper what the goals are, but also the organizational framework. And then we from Mobile 21 really guided the process, gave tools throughout the project, like plan and track document to really keep track of the activities and to really help the mentoring groups to get started. Yeah. So
yeah, and how does that mentoring work in practice and every day? These are some ideal types of how we're passing on the knowledge. In the day-to-day, we don't use these phrases. We just have this knowledge change, but just as a way to kind of illustrate how we're doing it, there's some 7 examples of how we're doing it. Peer mentoring, that's basically having our little safe group. So that would be ourselves in Copenhagen. We have monthly meetings with Helsinki, Riga, and Manchester. They joined before Brexit, but they're still part of the family. And we just have like a monthly keeping up with the agenda, pushing the agenda, having like a family that's helping each other and sharing experience. Another example of mentoring is the co-mentoring. The family is a very good example of that. Just like parents can be talking about how to educate their kids, we also talk with Munich and Amsterdam about how can we actually share our knowledge. And in quotation mark, the kids, the future cycling capitals, can also talk about how do we get the knowledge we need from the experienced cities. Another example is the mentoring circles. that would be just like a study group in university. So you would have a group of future cycling capitalists who wants to grow in a specific area. That could be, for instance, data. We have a lot of experience with working with cycling data in Copenhagen. So we would be a leader and they would be following us and asking for input. E-mentoring, of course, it was central in the beginning of the project because we can't travel all the time, but it's been super relevant during COVID because we've used this online portal called Basecamp for having online exchanges. We can share files. You can post just like in Facebook, but in a shared, closed community with questions, which was really relevant during the first lockdowns about how do we do a push-up, a pop-up bike lane. We use it to coordinate, and it's just having a space. Another example of e-learning is using calls on Zoom and Teams, which in the beginning people didn't really understand the capacity that you can actually do really good online meetings if you take your time. If you jump back, Sanne, also. Another example is panels of mentoring. That would basically be a little bit what we're doing here on the conference. You would have some experts showing up and be present, and then the mentees can ask questions. And then when we do the activity mentoring, we kind of flip the roles. We would have a mentee, a future cycling capital, bring a topic, and we do these Q&A sessions where they say, we have this question, what is the input? And we, the mentors, actually take a seat in the audience and ask questions and kind of play the roles of devil's advocate. Last week, for instance, Dublin had a question about how to coordinate a pedestrian street with cycling traffic, and we were giving our experiences from Munich, Copenhagen, and Amsterdam. And of course, the bifocal mentoring, which is more one-to-one relationship. So again, the family metaphor, this is basically the parent talking to the teenager. In our case, Helsinki is very far ahead, so they have more advanced problems than, for instance, Riga. So we would have like a one-on-one session and challenge them furthermore. But of course, the big unique power of Handshake is meeting. I know the name seems a little bit funny after COVID because we stopped shaking hands, but meeting up in person and sharing experiences, that creates a lot of value. We connect to each other. I was in Helsinki in August, and that was really great to connect. Bordeaux and Amsterdam had a meeting last week, and they also described how that brought the cooperation to the next level. I'll just run through a few personal statements really quick, just to give an example of what people are taking from this project. To start quoting myself, I'm not going to read all of it, but the cool thing about mentoring is that there's these mutual experiences because we have a lot of stuff to share from Copenhagen, but Handshake kind of obligates the cities to ask us qualified questions, and that helps. It makes it easier for us to give qualified input. My colleague Hannah in Helsinki is really appreciative of the fact that we kind of pressure them, like we put the bar really high, and that helps them to go further. They go to their own politicians and say, we need to go further. This is what Copenhagen are doing. We're similar cities. We have the same kind of culture, have the same kind of economic powers. Let's go for something bigger. Bart in Bruce talks about this whole culture change thing that we're doing, which is I guess really relevant in this conversation about capacity change, that we have to touch the heart and minds of people. It's not just a technical transfer of knowledge, but like you have to believe it to make these things work. Chris in Dublin shared some of the same things that Handshake kind of made him understand that we can actually do this. We need to do it, but we can also do it. It's not just something like we're not talking about colonizing Mars. Like sometimes it's a matter of asphalt and curbs. And rounding up with Johanna from Munich also shares the same thing. Like they're happy about this unbureaucratic transfer of knowledge that we have.
Yeah, and I will end with this final slide. Sorry, I'm going over time. Just to say, did we answer the question if mentor and mentee relationships can drive cycling policy change? I think partly yes. I think it definitely can, but we really want to research this topic more in depth. And that's why we also launched a second internal mentoring questionnaire. We made it together with one of the partners, Meredith Glazer from the Urban Cycling Institute, to really get it scientifically right. We'll do some follow-up interviews and then compile all this inspiration and information that we get in this white paper, inspirational paper, to share with you externally as well, to really show what mentoring can do within this field of cycling. Thank you so much.